Cinesmack contains spoilers of the spoiling type. If you don't want your spoilers spoiled, please turn back now. Otherwise, enjoy the show!
Gentlemen, let's broaden our minds. Lawrence?
Ladies and gentlemen! Welcome to the main event! This is Cinesmack! And the winner is...
Hello, Cinesmacketeers, and welcome to bout number 175 of Cinesmack, the podcast about films by filmmakers. I am your host, Mike Keeler. Joining me tonight is our panel of award-winning judges. First, filmmaker and owner of One Genome Short Productions, Gabriel puts the con in Conclave, Rowald.
Speaking English is exhausting. Terrible language. So many exceptions to every rule.
Damn it. Second, filmmaker and owner of Cheshire Moon Films, Tom. Speaking English is exhausting, Agus.
Hey, we are right now hanging out between the world of two certainties.
Third, filmmaker and owner of Arizona Ink Studios, Andrew, well, eminence. I'd say this is a pretty fair version of hell. Zumwalt.
Judas.
Man, you guys are on fire tonight. Fourth, writer, actor, and director, Kyle. Judas. Fine.
Ah. Traitor.
All right, let's go ahead and poke the monkey. Find out what we're discussing this month.
Ladies and gentlemen, sanctimonious smoke supervisors and conflicted Catholic clergymen, welcome to the main event. Tonight, POPETOBER prompts two papal pictures to proselytize and pontificate for prima picturam. Will Conclave be canonized? Or can the two popes take pride of place? In the first quarter, from 2024, written by Peter Straub and Robert Harris, directed by Edward Berger, starring John Lithgow, Stanley Tucci, and Rafe Fiennes. Conclave! In the second corner, from 2019, written by Anthony McCartan, directed by Fernando Mireles, starring Juan Minhui, Jonathan Price, and Anthony Hopkins, the two Popes.
That's right. It is our first and probably only POPETOBER event. It's not going to be like Toyotathon. It doesn't keep coming back. So let's start it off with our first round, which is writing.
POPETOBER!
All right. So, yes, this is kind of an unusual bout for us. I mean, it's two movies that deal with the going-ons, transition times during the Vatican City, and the one is kind of a what do you call it? Fiction, nonfiction, historical fiction, and Conclave is a completely made up story using the kind of the rules and settings of the of Vatican City to discuss the goings on. And Conclave is more like a thriller, and two popes. I don't want to say it's almost like a buddy comedy, but there is this kind of back and forth. And I mean, honestly, if there's a category you're going to put two popes in, it would almost be like a rom-com, that these two have these very different ideas. One is Matthew McConaughey and the other one's Kate Hudson, and they're trying to like work things out and see their differences as pluses and come together. I think there are some really interesting choices that were made. Conclave, I thought, using the themes of the turtles, I thought was really interesting to kind of show the church's independence and endurance and this idea of existing between the past and the present and the future. And the turtle's also a land animal and an aquatic animal. And then Pope, what's his name? The guy, Benitez, is also straddling two worlds at the same time. And so it's interesting that both these movies are very dialogue heavy and have a lot of really great lines. I feel like as far as a story, I think Conclave is a more engaging story, and it kind of helps kind of pull you along as the intrigue and not really double cross, but as that investigation kind of unravels, and then as the hopes of these different popes that rhymes start to fall apart one by one, and as things play out, I feel like the ending of Conclave is really satisfying. I liked it a lot more the second time than I did the first. When I originally saw it, there's a scene at the beginning when Stanley Tucci is asking him about taking the chessboard and how the deceased pope always beat him and was always 8 moves ahead of him, which foreshadows everything that this dead pope had laid out before he died. And I thought that was really well done. Two Popes is a story. I mean, it's about, it's a conservative pope and a presumed incoming more liberal pope, and the way that they kind of see each other's eyes, through each other's eyes through the what brought them to this place. There's a lot of flashback to Pope Francis's history in Argentina that plays into it. Two Popes leans very heavily to the left in terms of, I mean, it's really Pope Benedict's transition into accepting Pope Francis. Pope Francis doesn't really concede much to the right and to conservatism, and I don't know if that's a plus or a minus, but it's kind of what progress is. It's just kind of moving in that general direction. But I feel like both movies are really done. So I really enjoyed both these movies. I was talking before the show, I grew up Catholic. I went to Catholic school for 13 years, and I know they really hit home with me, and I find them very interesting. And so what I'm really interested in is hearing from the other panelists, anybody who didn't grow up Catholic or is less familiar with it, like, how do these movies come across to people who aren't familiar with, I won't say the mythology of the Catholic Church. So what do you guys think?
Yeah. I spent a summer and a half as a Presbyterian, so I feel like an expert on this. Go ahead and chime in. Mike, it may not be like Toyotathon, but like herpes, Popetober's coming back every year. They just got to keep making Pope movies. Yeah, I agree with what you said for the most part on things. Conclave, I think, is really a thriller wrapped in it's a setting and rule based thriller kind of around. It's much more elevated, but it almost feels like a Dan Brown book where it's taking place in like this holy place full of secrets and mysteries, and they're unraveling these things, but instead of unraveling like ancient mysteries or histories, they're finding the humanity or the things that make people fallible, among all these men who are ambitious and want to be the Pope.
Yeah,
I think that the movies share one thing in common, which I thought was a strong driving force, and it's something I've always believed, is that if someone really desperately wants to be the leader of something, they're probably the wrong person to do that. And these movies make a very good case for that in action. I think Catholicism is one of the most public-facing religions in America. So the idea of the papal conclave, the white smoke, black smoke, I think that's pretty much known to even people who aren't religious. So what's going on inside almost is like a White House thriller or a spy movie to some extent. You know, you're getting this inside look at things you're not supposed to see. I think movies lean very heavily to the left, especially the way the ending goes with Conclave. That's up to your taste whether that's something you agree with or not. The story of Conclave is, I don't want to say it's not repetitive, but it's a front runner emerges, they're taken down by some scandal that they've tried to hide, or they're involved in some underhanded shady dealings. And what ends up happening is like one of the most, probably the least likely candidate is then chosen for Pope. Spoiler alert. But in the end, you are meant to believe that that's a good thing, a progressive thing for the church, and that even though there are some questions at the end of whether or not it's, you know, how you want to interpret that, you kind of get the same message in the two popes. I agree. There were a lot of flashbacks. I thought they went a little long and dove a little too far into things, especially because it wasn't two-sided. You didn't see Pope Benedict's backstory, probably for good reason in some places. But the narrative of it, of them understanding like and believing in the happenstance and the timing of things, and seeing each other as, or at least one of them seeing as, the signs they were looking for in what they should do next with their life, I thought was interesting. The dialogue is really good. We'll get into it when we get into the acting, I'm sure, but it is adapted from a play, which I can totally see. Although I would be hard to understand how they would get the settings and the scenes for that right, considering the grand places they go and the things you see. Also, it kind of glosses over some of the scandals that were going on. You hear about them in the background. They don't dive into them nearly as much as they do things like someone's belief in one specific thing, or the history that one character has from their time in Argentina. But yeah, I think you kind of understand to a certain extent the mechanisms of the Catholic Church, even if you weren't raised Catholic. But a lot of the minutia there is kind of foreign, probably, if you didn't grow up in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead, Andrew. Go ahead.
I mean, my one big takeaway, especially for the story wise, with the two popes, is supposedly based on true events, or derived from true events, maybe is a better way to say that. I'm not sure how much of that is, real, how much of it is extrapolated. It definitely has the buddy cop or buddy film going on, definitely, and has a lot more of that energy and that goofiness that you would see kind of in a buddy film. We'll talk a little bit about the acting next round, so I don't want to get too far into that. I guess my more curiosity is, the writing pulled from those true events that were inspiring this. It's interesting you say that it was derived from a stage play, because if that's true, that makes way more sense, because it's really obvious.
What I read was that the Two Popes was based off of a play.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I could totally see this on stage, definitely. So that's interesting. That's an interesting take and perspective then. Conclave, it in both of these movies they actually show the conclave, which once again, I've never been inside the conclave. I've never actually, spoken with a cardinal or the Pope to actually ask if that's what actually goes on. I'm assuming they've done their research. I'm assuming people know roughly what goes on. I have to kind of take the movie's word for it. So I don't know how accurate or inaccurate that was. Otherwise, I mean, it was fine to watch it, I guess. It didn't really, I wasn't really excited. There wasn't moments where I'm sitting there going, oh, I want to know what's going to happen next. I was just kind of honestly, through both of them, just being like, okay, eventually this will be over. And oh shit, another hour and a half. Okay. Their stories, they're not terrible stories. They're adequate. I know I'm the Debbie Downer of the group tonight.
All right. Gabe, you have anything to say about him?
Can you hear me?
There
I
you
can
are.
hear you, Gabe.
What's that?
There you are.
I can hear you, Gabe.
Okay. Yes, I thought they were both very well written. They're very dialogue heavy, but fortunately the dialogue is very good. I found it interesting. Obviously they're kind of about the same thing, but I found it interesting how they were thematically very similar. Obviously they're about very similar incidents, but they both touch on things like what they would refer to as maybe a crisis of faith, and how these really high-ranking people in the Catholic Church are having these crises, and wondering. I was like, and some of them are even like it's a crisis of their decisions, life decisions. So in the two popes with Pope Francis, I think there was some regret to the decision he made and leaving Esther behind and that kind of thing. And so it was very interesting that way. I think both of them had that kind of theme to it, this crisis of faith. And I agree that Conclave is very much almost like a detective movie in the Vatican, because he's really actually investigating these things, and his crisis is like, okay, well, I learned this information. What should I do with it? And what good or what harm is going to come of this? I didn't really think of the two popes as a buddy movie, but when you guys said it, I thought, oh yeah, it is maybe kind of like a buddy movie, but it's definitely a character study of those two different characters and how they were so opposed to each other at first, but then came to an understanding with each other at the end. And I found that very interesting.
Totally can see that. I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, and it definitely focuses on those two characters almost primarily through the whole movie, and but I enjoyed it, and I think we'll get into this in the next category. In part, I enjoyed it because of the great performances around this great dialogue that was provided for them. So, but both are very well written, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I was just gonna say the two popes is kind of Beverly Hills Cop meets grumpy old men.
Sure.
That's my elevator pitch.
Sure. That's your log line.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny that that two popes was their focus was like how certain faith is locked into certainty, being certain about something, and Pope Francis was very much, no, I'm very certain about this, and it's just about that confidence. And Conclave was like, you can't have faith without uncertainty, and it's like they're both of them were like,
right,
no,
without doubt.
Yeah, and so there's an interesting thing how they played with doubt and used it, and so.
Well, and it's interesting that they definitely still both movies push the line of, for those who crave power are the least likely those are the people that you don't want to have power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Which is not just used for the Pope. Like there are many different places that mentality has been applied. So it's interesting to see that was written into both movies.
yes.
That's how
Yeah,
we
I
got.
thought
That's how we
the
got
same thing.
Mike. That's how we got Mike to host the podcast.
Right.
He was the only one that didn't want to do it.
Yeah, I think the quote, I have the quote up, the most important qualification for any leader is not wanting to be leader. And yeah, you're right, Andrew. That was definitely a theme in both movies, which I thought was interesting. There's definitely overlap here, but I think where they vary is in the ending of how they end. It really. Well, I think one of the things I liked about Conclave is that there's kind of a twist ending. I don't know, maybe some of you guys saw it coming. The introduction of this Benitez, I think his name is, this unknown cardinal, and he seems like he's going to be an insignificant character, but becomes hugely significant at the end. And I think it's the kind of movie where, like, once you know that twist ending, it's going to be hard to watch again. Without it's going to be hard to be surprised. But this is the first time I'd seen it, and I was very surprised by the ending. So.
Speaking of endings, that's the end of the round, Gabe.
Perfect. Great
Let's put
segue.
it to a vote. Tom.
Oh shit.
We have
go-
to do that voting thing.
Conclave.
All right. Kyle.
Conclave.
All right.
Can I change my vote?
Gabe. No.
Come on.
Because of Kyle, or
No, no,
well-
oh shit! You're trying to Danny Boyle me.
no. Danny said I had the night. Danny said I had the night off because there's no way because this one's going to sweep. But I just something struck me
there's
that
no way. No
I had
way.
a realization that I maybe want to change my vote.
Okay. Do you want the two popes?
You're compromised.
I
It's a
do
compromise.
because I think on the surface this is a really boring subject matter, and I have no idea how the writers came up with a fascinating and engaging script.
I have some trivia for that.
Well, that's what I'm leading into is your trivia.
Okay.
So thank you.
Right, just like I led into the end of the round. Conclave won the Oscar for Best Adapted Screenplay. So I feel like maybe I should go with that. But I really enjoyed the dialogue and the character development in The Two Popes. So I'm going to go with The Two Popes.
All right. Andrew.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with The Two Popes.
Oh, all right.
It was more entertaining.
All right. While writing the screenplay for Conclave, Peter Strawn said that he met with the cardinal to discuss the logistics of the conclave. He also took a private tour of the Vatican and said he did not feel hostility while there and felt that the Vatican had been open to him. The Two Popes is based on historical events, including public speeches and published religious debates. But the private conversations between Bergoglio and Ratzinger are mostly based on conjectures. Writer Anthony McCartan commented, "What you always do is you speculate. Hopefully that speculation is based in facts and the truth, and hopefully it's inspired." So there you go, Tom. I don't know if that helped at all. But we're going to move on to our second round, which is acting.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I love it. It's
You'll
better
pay
than
for
the
that.
movies.
God save us.
You'll pay for the whole pew, but all you'll need is the edge.
There is no God here.
There is no God here. Speaking of acting, out of the 5 leads, I would consider the 5 leads between these movies: Jonathan Pryce, Anthony Hopkins, Stanley Tucci, John Lithgow, and Ralph Fiennes. How many Oscars do you think have been won by those 5 people?
A lot. Do you have a number?
I do.
Should we guess?
We're doing trivia in the
yeah.
middle of the round. Ooh, I like this.
7.
Okay.
All right, hurry up.
7 total.
7 total?
I'm
Tom?
gonna go with 9.
9.
I'll take 8. right in the middle.
8,
Yeah.
I'll go with 6.
6. Okay, according to my quick research on Wikipedia, the answer is 2, both by Anthony Hopkins.
What?
Which is insane. Ray Fiennes has been nominated 3 times and never won. Stanley Tucci's been nominated, never won. Jonathan Pryce nominated, never won. John Lithgow nominated, never won. Although John Lithgow has 6 Emmys.
What?
Yeah,
Oh,
seems crazy to me.
How did it not
that
win
is
for
crazy.
Harry and the Hendersons?
Yeah, I mean,
I
That was
ask
a tough
myself
year.
that every morning I
was it
wake
tough?
up.
I mean,
Jeez.
Jack Palance has never gotten over Cops and Robertsons either, but we'll move on. So yeah, that's insane to me
Wow.
because the acting talent on display in these 2 movies is it'd be hard for me to pick 2 movies to put against each other. I mean, you could find them, but with like more heavyweight, better actors in them. It's incredible. Anthony Hopkins is incredible. The worst part about his performance, I think, is his brown contacts, which definitely like bothered me at a point, because I think Anthony Hopkins has blue eyes, and I think he was wearing brown contacts. It was kind of obvious. But Jonathan Pryce and Anthony Hopkins are much flawless in The Two Popes. They are incredible actors, and they are. I mean, it doesn't matter if the camera's far away from them. Doesn't matter if the camera's close up on them. They are masters of their craft, and it's, I mean, pretty impeccable. I believe they're both nominated for this movie, but neither won. And then you move to Conclave, and my esteem for Ray Fiennes just continues to grow over the years. I think he gives an absolutely incredible performance. Stanley Tucci is sort of this. I don't know what I'd call him, like a hardline liberal. Like he's almost like a rock, but the way he delivers his lines and counter plays against Ray Fiennes is incredible. John Lithgow gives this sort of, I don't know how to describe his performance, like this outwardly strong, but also capable of feeling wounded and betrayed and hurt and sort of flimsy underneath performance. And the rest of the actors and actresses, I mean, Isabella Rossellini, the actor who portrays the African cardinal, the Italian cardinal in Conclave, they all give great performances. Cardinal Benitez has very little dialogue in a lot of the movie, but his presence, and I think it has a lot to do with the way he shot as well, and the costuming and the lighting. We'll get into that later in directing and overall. But they just make the absolute best out of these actors' talents. And I thought these 2 movies are superbly and supremely acted. They are wonderful examples of the power of acting and the craft of acting. And I thoroughly enjoyed almost every performance in these movies.
Yeah, I would definitely say that some of this will go into directing under the next category, which helped along. But I mean, you have taken some of the best actors of, now, then, before, and put them all together, and you have milked these just incredible performances, these characters that they have brought to life, and it seems easy for them, and you watch it and you're just Kyle, like you just said, they are masters of their craft, and this shows it. And that's for both movies. Like, it's very obvious these people belong where they are, and they deserve to be acting in these quality of roles and believability of characters. I love Stanley Tucci. I think he's incredible. He can be funny. He can be over the top. He can be serious. And, John Lithgow, from goofy all the way over to incredibly scary and terrifying to this middle ground in this movie, Ralph Fiennes. Oh man, what a hard person that's just holding the room together. And you can just see the turmoil going on throughout this movie. He pulls that character out, and you can, it almost felt like the movie was about him and his character and what he was going through. And then over on The Two Popes, Jonathan Pryce, Anthony Hopkins. I mean, Anthony Hopkins, a legend. Jonathan Pryce, a legend, just amazing actors. You put two of them in the same room and you've got gold dripping before you even said the first line. And it's just super incredible. So praise to all of the actors in these movies, and even some of the people that are lesser well known. Fantastic acting and performances to really get that feel throughout both of these films.
I think with it being such a dialogue heavy movie, both of these, something that I've been watching more when I'm watching movies is keeping your eye on the person that's not talking, when the camera allows it. And anybody, not anybody, but people can say their lines and, deliver them in a certain way, but it takes a really special kind of actor to be able to act as, a good actor is going to act and respond to, and not be actively listening. And everybody in these two movies are a perfect example of that. There are times when Anthony Hopkins is talking and Jonathan Pryce is looking at him, and you can just read his face, and you almost don't even need to hear what Anthony Hopkins is saying. And you can just see all of that complex thought rolling over in Jonathan Pryce's head. It's just really great work all around by everybody in this. I feel a little bit like Conclave kind of has an advantage because there's more acting to go around, whereas, two popes, Price and Hopkins basically carry the whole movie, and Conclave has a lot more depth because they have more characters to pull from. So I don't know, this one will be a tricky one too, I think.
Yeah, this one is definitely a tough round. A lot of great acting in both of these movies, and I think it makes these movies that much more compelling. I don't know if I mentioned it earlier. I honestly was not too excited about watching these movies because I'm like, the Catholic Church, I'm not really interested in this very much. But the acting, the writing, and the acting really made these movies so compelling. And so it's going to be a very difficult round to choose. All of the actors at every level were just really outstanding. Yeah, I don't know. They were just so engaging to watch, and even in the moments where they weren't speaking, these are very dialogue heavy, but the moments where they weren't speaking, really, kind of communicated a lot. And so, like you guys said, it really is a testament to their skill, and I don't know, they all just have such charisma on screen. It made these movies worth watching.
Yeah, Tom, what you brought up, I think first thing, I think there's two things. This is one of those rounds we get every once in a while where it just becomes like gush a smack, where we talk about how great movies are at doing something. But I think we're all fans of movies and great acting, and seeing this was a treat to watch this, because sometimes we watch movies where, let's be honest, the acting is average or below average. When you see exceptional acting, it really is high art. Like, it is amazing to watch. And along with what you said, Tom, watching people in a scene when they're not talking is fascinating, because there are some actors where you can visibly see they're like, okay, you talk, I'm waiting, and then I talk, and then you talk, and then I talk. And then some people who are reacting in real time and living in that moment and inhabiting their character, and you can see things on their face and little movements of their eyes, almost as if you can see what's inside their skull or what's going on in their emotional core. And that's fascinating to me. The two actors that come to mind that do this the best, I think, are Ralph Fiennes and Gary Oldman, where you can just look at their face, and their face can communicate so much. They don't have to say a word. I am thoroughly convinced that if Ralph Fiennes did an entire movie where he had no dialogue, I would absolutely understand what he was thinking and doing, like, the entire time. Agreed. Which is unreal. Like, that's an unreal skill. But his face acting and him showing you his internal world and his emotions so realistically, so nuanced, and so clearly, that is something I don't understand, how a human can be that open and vulnerable and also communicate so much to a group of people they don't know on the other side of a screen, right? And it's like universal, right? Whether you grew up in the church, out of the church, whether you have doubt or faith or any of these things, like you can just read these emotions and thoughts going through his head the entire time. And that is a master craftsman at work.
Agreed.
And I could watch Jonathan Pryce and Anthony Hopkins just buddy around for hours. If they did a residency in Vegas just as these two characters, I could just sit and watch them for hours.
Just them ordering pizza and Fanta.
Yes. Honest to God, if they literally just
pass pizza out to the rest of the crowd,
if they just talked in character about the
funny.
things happening around them, I would watch that for 2 hours.
Oh yeah.
They're
Some of their
captivating.
choices. Some of the choices on things are kind of interesting too, if you think about it. Because I assume Anthony Hopkins really knows how to actually eat pizza.
Yeah.
But Pope Benedict might not have known how to eat pizza because he ate weird food. They showed that he ate weird food and he ate alone.
Yeah.
And he probably didn't eat a lot of pizza, but they get pizza together and he just kind of stuffs it awkwardly into his face. And you have to assume that was a choice by Anthony Hopkins. That okay, how would Pope Benedict eat pizza? You know, and it's that kind of minutia that you don't even really think about too much. That makes these performances really enjoyable to watch.
Knowing Anthony Hopkins, I mean, I don't know him personally, but I mean, knowing some of his other performances and interviews I've seen, it would not surprise me if he asked, if he got a tidbit of information, if he saw a video clip, something that, alluded to those moments that allowed him to take on that character.
Are you telling me you don't know Tony? I can give you his number.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
He was supposed to be on tonight, but
he
was busy.
Yeah, he went to.
I love that he calls himself Tony when he corresponds with people. So it's hilarious.
It's Mr. Hopkins to you.
Yeah, yeah. For me, it is. Yeah, but when he wrote a letter to Bryan Cranston, he just signed it Tony.
All right, are you
Wow,
guys
we done
done
early
with
on this?
acting?
Yeah, I guess we
Yeah.
covered.
Everyone needed
Performances is what we
I'm
decided.
trying to think of somebody who sucked, but I'm
Just really, yeah. I'm in my refractory
Nobody.
period after
Oh,
gushing.
my.
Oh,
People
okay.
gushed.
oh boy.
all right.
It
The
gets
guy that
longer
played
when you
the-
get older.
the guy that played the Swiss guard at the end. He wasn't very good.
All right,
Yeah, a little
let's
nerd.
get him
I
up.
thought that was kind of fun. Though.
He did
I
look
mean,
intimidated
look
by
shocked.
having to book a flight for the Pope, though.
I
Yeah.
will.
I do
I
think
will
it's
say even the turtles did a good job. Like the animal acting was well. So
Can Conclave be a secret in world like Ninja Turtle?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
They're
I
all
like
popping.
that.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
like that the
they
Pope went
infiltrate the
to,
conclave.
I like that the Pope went to the Swiss Army to get his reservation on his phone taken care of, because they are, they do. Swiss Army does everything.
Yep. Well, they have knives.
Yeah.
They have the knives. Yeah.
Oh my
They're
god.
like,
Yeah,
do you need a thread cut, Your Holiness?
That's right.
well,
I need a
What's-
toothpick. I eat pizza weird.
what's interesting is I'm curious if that actually has happened.
Oh, I'm sure.
If that
yeah.
was
Probably.
if that was actually a real moment.
Yeah.
Because I mean, imagine that phone call.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
it would be like we
Forget
watched,
these are
what
old
was it?
men.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what was it? The president, the movie. Yeah, it was the president, right?
David Star.
Oh,
Which
when
one?
he tried to order something as the president, and somebody
He
didn't
ordered.
know.
He was trying to order flowers,
American
Right,
president.
they were-
right.
and they
Yeah.
were like, "No." Yeah, and he's
Oh.
like, "No, this is the president of the United States." And they're like, "Yeah, okay," and hung up on.
I thought you were talking about My Fellow Americans. No?
Oh, is that
No one?
No.
It's James Garner and
Yeah.
Oh no, we're
That's,
familiar
that's
with it.
basically
We're
the
telling you now.
American two popes.
That's right. That's right. All right. Let's put it
it's,
to a
we
vote.
we drug it out. It's now at 0. We can officially end.
Kyle.
Man, oh man, oh man.
Here, maybe this will help.
Yes. Thank you. I'll take that as a sign. I'm going to vote for the oldest men in the room. Going to go with the two popes.
Okie dokie. Gabe.
Yeah, this is a really tough category, but I think Anthony Hopkins and Jonathan Pryce really carry the two popes, so I'm going to go with the two popes.
All right. Andrew?
I'm gonna go with quantity over quality this time and go with Conclave because in Tucci we trust.
Oh, the Tooch. Tom.
We didn't really talk about this, but I'm going to go with two popes because I still don't know how Isabella Rossellini got an Oscar nomination for her two scenes.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, she got
did?
nominated for three scenes, and she got nominated for an Oscar. And I'm like,
For best
Come on.
supporting actress?
best supporting
Isabella,
actress.
you're talking about Isabella Rossellini?
Isabella Rossellini, yeah.
She did?
Yeah, so
Yeah, she was
Yeah.
nominated for best
Yeah.
supporting actress for this tiny role, and it's not insignificant. And she does an amazing job, but it is insignificant.
yeah, so
She says like 6 words in the whole movie.
I have a
I
feeling
know.
like it's you know what? We've looked at her work for so many years and not nominated her for this.
Oh,
is
I
it
hate
the
it.
John Wayne effect?
Please
Yeah.
don't do
Yeah.
that. Don't.
Oh,
So-
man.
So I was watching this, and I had to split it into two parts. So I started watching Conclave, stopped about halfway through, and then I was talking to Jill, and I said, "Well, Isabella Rossellini is in this, and she got nominated for an Oscar, but I haven't really seen her in it yet. I mean, she's been in it, but she hasn't really done anything yet." And so then I went back to the second half of the movie, and I was thinking, okay, well, this is where her part is going to pick up, and it did. Because it was, you know, when he went to talk to the other sister, you know, when she was in Isabella Rossellini's office and that kind of thing. And so her part kind of picked up from there. But I think you're right, Tom. It's like, really? Like, I mean, she was good. Everybody was good in these movies. But was that really an Oscar-worthy performance? I don't know. Does it have to have a certain amount of quantity, and
Right.
do you have to be on screen a certain amount of time to be, nominated? I don't know, but I agree with you, Tom.
All right.
Huh.
Trivia. In both instances, Sir Anthony Hopkins and Sir Jonathan Pryce are about 7 years younger than the real life characters they portray. It's kind of
Really?
yeah, 7
Wow.
years.
7 years. Yikes.
Robert De Niro was originally attached to play the lead role in Conclave, but ended up dropping out. Javier Bardem was then approached, but also dropped out. When Ralph, yes, that's how you spell it, Ralph Fiennes was eventually cast, his character was rewritten to be English. He is Italian in the novel. As Fiennes refused to play the character with an Italian accent as he thought it would sound ridiculous. And I really respect that, because I imagine his Italian accent is more like Mario, and he's like, this won't work.
He probably
He's like,
he-
no one will take me seriously if I sound like that little man from the video games.
He's like, wait, you got Stanley Tucci and he won't do the accent? I'm not doing it.
I mean, I will say Ralph's English accent is spot on. Like he's
He's
really
good. For a guy from New
it's really
Jersey.
good.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I would have liked to have seen De Niro in there and been like,
There would
Are you
have
voting
just been a lot more
you vote
like,
for me?
yeah, just like
Are you
shaking
voting
of the head, and
Yeah.
kind of pouting lips.
I don't see anybody else here, so you must be voting for me.
Yeah, I don't know about De Niro. That
Pacino
would
in
be
there.
that
I'm
would be weird.
voting here. I'm voting here.
Vote for me
Hope's
because
got a
I've got a
great
great
ass.
ass.
Yeah.
I'm voting here. I'm voting here.
Don't cross me, fucker.
I could see Javier Bardem though.
Yeah,
I could see him in
I
God,
would've-
I could-
I
but not De
watched that.
Niro.
Yeah,
I
but
love De
Niro
Niro,
would be
but not in
weird.
that
It would
role.
be a different movie with De Niro.
Yep.
You get Pacino and you could do Vatican. Vatican. He's like clanging the
Oh my
papal
God.
chalice on the bars.
Get
Oh, yeah.
get De Niro and Pacino in there and just call it Heat 2.
Heat 2.
De Niro would have
Me
done
too.
the
Conclave.
Yeah. Vatican City Nights.
There you go.
Guys, I think we need to like copyright some of this stuff because I
right.
think we've had a number of great movie
All right.
ideas on this show.
We're ending early. We are going and writing this right now. Thanks, everybody.
Dear Mr.
We're
Hollywood.
workshopping the screenplay immediately.
I'm way ahead of you. Chat GPT just finished it. We're all good.
All right, let's move on to our third round, which is directing.
The power of
POPETOBER
compels you.
Wow. Yeah, I was not expecting that.
Do you want to hear it again?
The power of
Yes.
POPETOBER
compels you.
POPETOBER. Yeah. So this is another category that's going to be kind of tough because I think the directing of both of these movies is really excellent as well. And I think it all comes together. All those pieces all come together to make both of these movies pretty good movies. Great cinematography in both of these. Really great close-ups of wrinkly old men. But they're very compelling close-ups. I think great editing in both of these. I think maybe the pacing for some things is it's kind of slow, but I think it also builds the tension to these movies. It's like this stuff is rolling out very slowly over time, and it builds kind of the tension of it. And as we talked about in kind of the writing category, Conclave is a little bit more like a detective movie or something like that. And you could almost argue that it's got some noirish qualities to it. There's a little bit of film noir to it. The editing, the shot choices, the lighting, the low light shots, sometimes with light across their stark shadows and light across their faces, and even you could argue maybe even the music to a certain degree, maybe gave it a little bit of a noirish feel, and we didn't really have the femme fatale as we talked about with Isabella Rossellini. She didn't really have that femme fatale kind of feel to it, but it's still kind of noirish to me a little bit, and I thought the directing of the Two Popes was really solid too. There were some really interesting choices in there, really beautiful cinematography, really great shots of these actors doing their thing. I thought it was a little bit interesting though. They did kind of a God, why I can't think of it. Jason Bourne. Sorry, my brain stopped. The Jason Bourne kind of feel to it, where you almost got the feeling that there was a third party watching them, or it was almost kind of a documentary kind of feel to it, where the camera was often moving. It wasn't always steady. You got shots through things like foliage or curtains or whatever. It wasn't like set it on a tripod or a dolly and have these really smooth shots. It was this kind of almost documentary style to it, and I thought that was an interesting choice there. I don't know why they made that choice. It worked for me, but it was an interesting choice to me. And also the sound, the sound in the Two Popes was really interesting to me too, because there was music, and that was one of the things that I guess I don't know if that fell into the writing category or not too. I think they took the characters and had the characters had opposing tastes in music as well. Pope Benedict was classical, older music, and Pope Francis, he knew all about the new pop music. He was whistling Dancing Queen, and he knew all about the Beatles, and that kind of said something about their characters as well. It put their characters at odds with each other. But I think the music choices in the movie itself were really interesting too, because the intense moments, there was a conscious choice not to have music, but there were other, what I would call diegetic sounds in the environment that brought tension to those scenes. So there's one where they're talking out in the garden. They've gone out, actually kind of outside of the garden. They don't know exactly where they are, and there's this really tense scene. And then this really annoying insect sound, which really, and it goes on for a lot longer than you expect it to, and it really creates a lot of tension in that scene, because it's like this makes me uncomfortable. And that's kind of illustrated the feelings of those characters at that moment. And I think there are other scenes in the movie where they do that, near the very end where Pope Benedict is kind of confessing. And I thought that was an interesting choice, and I'd like to hear what you guys thought about it, where he's confessing and then there's just like this, I don't know, I don't remember what it was, almost like a siren kind of sound, and his voice gets kind of muted out and you don't ever actually hear what he says. And I thought that was an interesting choice there, and maybe so that we still had some, I'm afraid if he said something that was too awful, we might not have any compassion for that character anymore. And so maybe they chose to blot that out so we didn't hate the character at the end of the movie. I don't know. But both of these movies are very beautifully shot and really well directed. You could argue that maybe the pacing is a little slow, but there was a lot to get through in these movies, and I thought they were both well directed.
They were over your time limit, Gabe.
I'm sorry.
No, I meant like the movie lengths.
Oh, they
over
were.
your time
They were. I know. That was another thing. I said I wasn't too interested. I wasn't too excited to watch them when I saw them on the list. I knew that they were supposed to be good movies. I knew they were, Oscar nominated, had great actors. I was not too excited. And then I saw how long they were. I'm like, oh man. But I was happily surprised and enjoyed both, and was able to ultimately sit through 4 hours plus of movies. So
Yeah, that part kind of stuck out to me too. Like there's a little bit when the sound goes out, there's a little bit of editorializing there, that either there was someone's name or some kind of detail that they didn't want in there, and they chose to go that way. I don't know. It almost felt like it was a test audience reaction, that people were like, oh, people don't really like the part where you're, shuffling around pedophiles, so maybe we should do something here. That was kind of confusing to me. That kind of stuck out. The cinematography in Conclave is absolutely beautiful. I mean, it helps that you're shooting in the, they're not shooting in the Vatican, but the Vatican-like places where they shot. And just it's a dark movie. I don't know if they didn't have much for a lighting budget, but it's not a movie you can really watch in your living room at 2:00 in the afternoon if you don't have good curtains, But again, Two Popes does so much with a story that just did not feel like it'd be very compelling. And, a lot of that lies in the direction and the editing. But I don't know if it's because these aren't very like blockbuster type topics that these movies talk about, but Conclave feels kind of like a blockbuster in that it's, it's got a lot of those thriller themes, and like you said, like a film noir almost. And so, it's interesting how they made these two stories palpable.
Yeah, definitely.
Go ahead.
You sure? Want to flip?
No, go for it.
I was just gonna. I agree. The the cinematography is definitely what stands out in Conclave 100%. In fact, probably one of the best moments in that entire film is at the end when I'm not going to say his name right, Benedict. See, I'm not going to do it right.
Benitez, the Cardinal Benitez.
Yeah, Benita. Yeah, him. I can't say it right. Okay. But he stands up and they're all sitting there. Their cardinal outfits have dust and debris and dirt on them, and they're all screaming and yelling at each other. And he stands up, he delivers his monologue, he sits down, and the camera is just facing that auditorium where they're all sitting around, and he's exactly in the center, and there's a little bit more light on him, and there's really nobody else around him. That shot alone, that chef's kiss. It was so perfect. Like, it was just gorgeous. And that doesn't even include all the other, beautiful scenery and stuff, buildings, paintings, sculptures, and everything else they got in the background. Just very beautiful. To Gabe, like, yeah, you're spot on. I thought the same thing about some of the weird, like, they would cut to scenes where they were having discussions and it was lock shots. And then when they were having fun playing the piano, talking or eating pizza, doing the soccer game, these more lighthearted moments, it went to more of like a documentary handheld. So I felt that was that choice, was to show that when you're locked down, we're talking business. Everything else is these two guys getting to know each other as people. At least that's how it kind of translated to me. Maybe it.
Yeah.
But I did notice that. I did notice that as well. Especially when they start playing the piano. That went from, very lock shots of him eating and being like, you shouldn't eat alone, and them kind of sitting and him offering him, coffee and wine, and then all of a sudden he starts playing piano, and it's like, hey, we're in a documentary all of a sudden. And so it felt very much like that.
Yeah.
And maybe anyone knows, and maybe somebody can jump in and shout out, but I'm really curious about location wise, and maybe Mike has trivia or something, but
I have a little
some
bit
of the
that.
Okay, so because the locations were gorgeous, and if they weren't real, wow, just wow.
Yeah, the two popes' different filming styles were interesting. Like I think you've alluded to, and a lot of us have. They use the locked off shots and they change those to more handheld things, when they want to get you thinking or feeling a certain way emotionally. We're being jovial. This is unscripted. This is surprising or delighting in some way, versus this is tense. This is we're at odds and loggerheads. And I think what they did was interesting. Sometimes they'd give one of the characters a juicy piece of dialogue, but they wouldn't be showing their face. They'd show the reaction of the other person, which I really liked. That's some of that, acting we're talking about, where you're acting with your face and not necessarily just waiting to deliver your line. I did find some of the stylistic choices in the two popes a little jarring sometimes. I understand the, using either musical stings or background noise that's annoying or whatever to put you on edge. The fading out of the confession piece, I kind of understood as like something so, it was either so heinous or like a sin that he didn't think he could be forgiven for, or that wouldn't be understood or something like that. They wanted to keep that almost secret, as if that was part of the confession that no one but him and the cardinal should hear. But overall, I liked the look of most of it. I thought the flashbacks were sort of hit or miss, but I like the way they played with color as like things became more clear, and then the world went from black and white to color when he understood his calling. Conclave is an absolutely gorgeous movie. It is beautiful cinematography, incredible lighting, the framing and blocking of the scenes. Some of the more like I don't know if you'd call them theatrical or just beauty shots, like the ones with the umbrellas when they're walking around the fountains. Those are really just there to evoke a feeling or emotion, and they're gorgeous. You see everybody walking with their umbrella over their head except for Ray Fiennes' character, and that's trying to speak to us about his state of mind, his importance, where he's going, how he feels. And the choice of lighting. Yeah, Conclave is a very dark movie, and I think a lot of that has to do with, they're being sequestered. They're in this huge place, but it's made to feel small, and isolating, which it is, I'm sure, but they use it to great effect. And then there are times when he's discussing things with people and the truth is coming out. You get a lot of scenes where there's natural light coming in through the windows, or like in the cafeteria, everything's very illuminated. So I think when you see those moments where he's dealing in the shadows and in the darkness, it reflects that, and then when he's dealing with bringing things into the light, the cinematography reflects that a lot, which adds, I think, to the gravity and the emotion, and it helps cement what the director is trying to get across to you. So in that case, I think it was a great success.
And to that point, with the camera not necessarily being on the person directly, in the two popes, when Pope Benedict is giving his confession to Cardinal Francis, that moment, that scene, and the way that it's laid out and shot is very much in that mode of that feel of you're listening to this confession, but at the same time you're seeing the reaction. And it was, that setup, that look, that feel, the overly bright lights coming in through the window, like that was a very beautiful moment, I would say, the way that was composited.
All right. Let's put it to a vote. Gabe.
Another tough category, but I think I'm going to go with Conclave on this one.
All right. Kyle?
Yeah, I got to go with Conclave on this.
Andrew?
Conclave.
And Tom?
Give it the sweep, Conclave.
All right. Notice that there are no shots of the masses of crowds that regularly appear at the Vatican in Conclave. Financially, this would have been a costly thing to include, but Edward Berger had no interest in including it. He wanted his audience to concentrate on the internal machinations of Cardinal Lawrence's mind without any outside distractions. Fernando Morales was the original choice for director very early in development. When he was first approached, he had to turn down the opportunity, however, as he was deeply embroiled with the Rio Olympics opening ceremony. This took up to 2 years of his life. When he was done, the screenplay had been completed, and he was able to accept the assignment. And just so you know, the two Pope thing that I have for sets is an overall. So you have to wait a little bit longer. Mm-hmm. Let's move on to our fourth and final round, overall.
Angelic.
Very.
I'm not sure there's much else that can be said about these movies, especially after that intro. Wow. When it really comes down to it, there are some great performances in these movies. There's some beautiful, beautiful pictures. There's stories that are told. As I said at the very beginning, I'm going to be the odd man out. The movies were fine. Were they enjoyable to sit down and watch? Yeah. It was neat to see the art of the actors, of the cinematographers, of the directors, of all the people that are involved in making these giant, massive movies. You know, and I appreciate them for that. Would I watch these movies? I mean, I forced myself to watch Conclave again. Would I watch these movies again? Probably not ever. I mean, not to say that they're bad movies. They're just, I was like, okay. They were just kind of, Or I don't want to say boring because that's not true. They weren't boring. They had a good story. They're just, I don't know. They didn't really
not for you. They didn't.
Yeah, they just weren't for me. Yeah, they just weren't exciting for me to watch and go, yeah, this was really awesome. And I really like, it was a story. They were told well. I know. Somebody else say something positive about these so we cannot end on this kind of thing. 'Cause, that's how I feel.
What do you think what do you think the obstacle was? Is it I don't really give a crap about the mechanics of the Catholic Church or the way it was presented? Because I'm really curious. I'd like to know like what it was that you saw as a hindrance.
I would say that especially I would especially say that in Conclave, the topic to me was just like not all that exciting. And I have deep personal opinions about a lot of the Catholic Church and what they have done and what they haven't done. And it was just one of those things I'm like, I don't really care. In the two popes, that could have been set with those two actors in a completely different setting. And I realize it's based on a true story, but with them being in like a buddy movie, not as popes as, you know, I don't know.
The outgoing and new manager at a McDonald's.
Sure. And it would have been
both happened to be 85 years old.
Right. But it would have been an enjoyment to see those two act and, you know, get along and stuff. But, you know, just the fact that it was about the popes and the conclaves and I would say that the two popes is less about the conclave and more about the popes themselves, which is why I lean more towards that was more enjoyable purely because it was more character based and not actually about the other. I think that's probably what tore me away because I'm just like, I don't know.
That's interesting you say that because when I think of Conclave, I think if you replace the Conclave with another scenario, say they're all trapped in a building trying to figure out who the murderer is, or they're all in a situation where they're trying to I think honestly, this is kind of weird, but it made me think of the game Werewolf, where you're all stuck in a place together and you don't know who the bad guys are. So sometimes you meet in the shadows or talk about other things, and then in the end, you hope you get the right person. Like if they made that movie with these actors around this same scenario, I think it would still be good. I think the Conclave is a great setting for the drama and the story that it wants to tell. But the way the movie's structured, the way it functions almost as like a thriller, mystery, a little bit of noir, like Gabe said, it focuses a lot on the process of the conclave. But if you change that and left a lot of the dialogue and acting and beats similar to something else, I think you'd still get a solid movie. I think the structure is solid. And it has elements of all those other genres outside of, you know, church movie or whatever you call it. You know, it's no Sister Act 2 Back in the Habit, but it's, you know.
You couldn't call it Conclave though.
You could call it Con Airclave, and they're all stuck on a giant prisoner transport.
That's a death to
I guess I was more
Conclave coming soon.
copyright.
I was
We're
kind
copyrighting
of
this.
more inferring towards the two popes, that story, regardless if it was popes, the conclave part, like you could have still written and had that in a place and it still would have been roughly the same movie. And that to say that that's bad, and I'm not saying that these movies are bad, it's just the main idea, the topic of being focused around the conclave just isn't something that really interests me. And I think that has some personal bias because there are some things that I don't necessarily agree with the Catholic Church, and watching a movie about it, I'm just like, I don't care. And I think that that's partially, the viewer, me, deciding whether or not I enjoy it or not is kind of already tainted as I go in. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Let's do a similarity. Who all here likes to watch romantic musicals?
I don't even know
Raise
what that
your hand.
is.
I made that
A movie or a
Tom
musical?
does. Tom
Who
does.
who likes to watch musicals in our group? Who is excited when we put up musicals?
I'm okay with
No.
musicals. I
I like
don't
some.
like romantic ones. I made that very
Right.
clear with Umbrellas of Cherbourg.
Correct. So it's kind of the same thing. So if we have to watch those, going into those type of movies, you're somewhat already tainted because you're just like, this really isn't my bag, but I'm gonna watch it, right?
Like you're going in with your bias, right?
Yes, you're already going in because and I'm not saying that it's but so there is a struggle when you go into a movie or play or something and the topic is something that you're already just like about. It's hard to really get into it and get lost into that suspension of disbelief when you're already like, I just don't care.
I agree with you, but interestingly, I had the exact opposite experience. But going into these, I was not interested in them, but they surprised me with how compelling they were.
That's
So
fair.
I'm not disagreeing with you, but I had the exact opposite experience this time around. And, there are certain ones, I have to, Mike, I'm sorry, but I have to be honest. I was not excited about Bad Boys and
Sorry, we
Tango
just
and
lost
Cash.
Gabe.
Yeah.
He was going to say he wasn't excited about Bad Boys.
What's that?
You were going to say you were. I heard him. He didn't cut out for me. You said you weren't excited about it.
Bad Boys.
No,
You said
I
Bad
was
Boys,
not. I was not.
Yeah,
I
they were fine.
didn't
Dave. I hear you. I got your back.
kick him.
But maybe I had the same experience you did, Andrew, when I last month. I don't know. But all I'm saying is, it's I just find it interesting that we had different experiences, because I think we both had the same bias going in, but my experience with the movies changed my mind a little bit.
And acting wise and directing wise, like they I 100% agree with everything we've said before, and everything I stand by what I've said about the qualities and the ability to act and everything else that happened in these movies. It's just the topic wasn't the most exciting story for me, and I'm just kind of like,
Yeah, and what I said, I think I'm also with you that I'm not sure I would go back to these movies. If somebody wanted to watch one with me, I would watch it again. But I'm not sure it's the kind of movie where I'm going to go back to it. These movies I'm not going to go back to over and over.
Gabe, do you want to watch The Two Popes tomorrow night?
Sure. Yeah, let's hang out.
Gabe's watching.
We can have a.
if we're gonna hang out, yeah, that's fine. I mean, we can talk over the movie and not actually have to pay attention. That's totally fine.
As long as we can drink wine and take communion together, if you know what I mean.
I'll bring
Wine, eat wine, and ooh.
Okay.
I would just like to point out that Gabe singled out Bad Boys and not the fact that I made him watch Chopping Mall and Witch Trap this year.
Oh my God!
I think that's just recency bias, right? Like, does it stuck in your head?
It could be. It could be. Yeah, those.
We all
I
did
don't
watch Chopping Mall this year.
Those have not quite left my memory yet.
I do not hate you.
Bad
I don't
Boys,
hate
Gabe.
anybody for that.
I love pepperoni. I like pepperoni. Waitress, more butter. Some great lines in Chopping Mall.
Yep.
Speaking of Chopping Mall and movies with great premises, let's get back to these two. Boy, that was a ham-fisted segue.
I'll thank you for that. I think I just want one thing that I think Conclave came out 2 years ago. The country was going through. We were going through this period, like trying to define gender and what it means to be male, what it means to be female, and I think Conclave does this really interesting because they really set it up, and there's no indication at all what's going to happen at the end, and then that twist comes at the end, and it really seems like they're not trying to change anybody's mind about the definition of what it means to be male and female, but it does, I think. It tries to encourage some conversation. And I think like the filmmakers kind of hoped that when people walked out of the theater, they're like, well, is this guy eligible? What does that mean? He had a uterus, but is he eligible to be Pope? And I think I would bet there were some really great conversations and some probably nasty ones too, but, about what that means. And I can appreciate it because it wasn't heavy handed, I don't feel, but it did a really good job encouraging conversations at a time where those conversations needed to be had.
Yeah, and I felt like I don't know. Did you guys see that twist coming? Had you guys seen this before? Did you know that twist was coming? Because I honestly did not. I thought that was one of the great things about the writing and the directing of this movie is I did not see that twist coming. We knew that he had some quote unquote health issues. He had, or she. I guess he identified as he went, to Switzerland to have some sort of a procedure done, but that was never on my radar as to what was going to happen.
Right.
And I guess I wasn't entirely clear, what his situation was. Was he actually biologically female, but identified as male? Or was he, somewhere in between?
I think
it was a hermaphrodite.
Hermaphrodite. He was born with both sets. And
yeah. That's kind of what I got out of it. But there was a part where he said, living in, I don't know where he lived as a child. It was a very modest existence, which
in the monastery,
yeah,
because everything would have been covered up.
Exactly. That's why I thought it's well, maybe he was actually biologically female the whole time, but nobody knew it because nobody looked, nobody could see, nobody knew it. But I wasn't entirely clear on that. It was a little bit ambiguous, not unlike his sexuality, but it wasn't entirely clear to me, so I was wondering what you guys thought. You thought he was actually a hermaphrodite? He was both genetically?
I think there is a I don't know if I'm saying this right, and I don't mean to any offense. I don't know if the right term is intersex or
that's correct,
but it's a so you would classify a male presenting, male looking person that has male genitalia, but also has internal female or some internal female organs. So they won't necessarily have exterior genitalia of that gender, but they might have ovaries or a partial uterus or a uterus or fallopian tubes or other things like that developed. They may not. They most likely don't function and never will be they're otherwise I'm not trying to belittle it in any way, but like an appendix, it's an organ that doesn't work or serve or communicate with the body in a normal way, right? It just happens to exist because of a chromosomal mutation or difference. And gender difference.
I looked it up, Kyle, and you're right. Mm-hmm. That's the correct term.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
And that's the term filmmakers use,
yeah, and a lot of the hermaphrodites, it's not. It is a genetic, just whatever mutation, and sometimes the organs, like you said, are, in a sense, for the better word, a stale organ, and sometimes they're actually active. And so it is possible for someone who is what they now call intersex, for them to actually have very feminine features with male genitalia, or vice versa, have very male features and have female genitalia, because they basically have both. And it is possible to kind of have it's every organ is different in the human body and acts differently, but it's a spectrum when it comes to this kind of stuff. You have people where it's just there, and others where it actually affects who they are as a person, physically. And so it varies, I guess, is the best way to put it.
And I think the casting of that character also kind of projected that, because he looked male, but still kind of had almost feminine qualities to him. He was kind of slight and quiet, and his voice was kind of high, and so I think the casting of that character was good too.
Also presented as a mystery at the beginning, right? Of them not
absolutely.
knowing what about, But no, I think as far as the twist went, I saw the movie in the theater when it came out, and in no way did I think that was going to be the ending. There was that lingering question they kind of plant early about him going for some procedure, but that gets very quickly swallowed up by like the other front runners' secrets coming out, and it gets left on the back burner, so that at the end, it's almost like a Sixth Sense twist where you're like, whoa, I think it's very hard to think that's foreshadowed very well or projected.
Right.
Yeah.
What a twist.
What a twist.
Right,
I have one question for you guys, but just one more question really quick.
Are you going to hit on Bad Boys again, Gabe?
No.
Okay.
I'll refrain. I'm not sure I fully understood the very, very ending of Conclave. I was a little disappointed in how it concluded. Can you guys explain to me like what you saw in the very, very ending, where and maybe it had something to do, those shutters come open and the light comes in, and maybe that's some sort of metaphor for knowledge or understanding or whatever. The darkness goes away and the light comes in, and then he looks out and he hears the I don't know, the sisters out there in the courtyard, and then those two doors are closed. You don't see who closes them. The doors close, and it just ends.
It's some
life.
acceptance.
Yeah, and it's some life outside the conclave, and that's the only shot we see outside the building, isn't it? Is that one shot from the window? So
yeah, pretty much.
After they open, he finally gets to see sunlight. The acceptance is there.
I think it also is meant to portray some hope for women in the church going forward, knowing what we know about the new pope.
The new pope.
Because you see them outside, unaccompanied by men, having fun and feeling uninhibited in this otherwise place where they'd be, oppressed.
Yeah.
Was anyone bothered that they named somebody Wozniak? Because all I could think of was Steve Wozniak the first time I just saying.
Yeah, I don't know that occurred to me, but now that you say it, it's kind of funny.
All right, guys.
Sorry.
I have both these things burning. I got the black smoke and the white smoke, so we got to hurry up and vote.
You can't burn both. Oh boy,
I got them ready. That's the
that's gray smoke.
Yeah.
Andrew.
I'm gonna split everything, so I'm just gonna go with the two popes, two on each side.
Tom.
Conclave.
Kyle.
Give me the conclave.
Well done. Gabe.
Conclave.
Bad Boys. Got it.
Bad Boys.
If you don't recommend Bad Boys tonight, Gabe, you're in trouble.
Yeah, I'm forever in trouble now.
The longest conclave in history was 33 months to elect Pope Gregory X in the year 1271. And for the two popes, a full-size recreation of the Sistine Chapel was recreated in the Cinecittà Studios in Rome. Actually, it's a fraction bigger by mere inches to allow for the placement of cameras. This reproduction took 8 weeks to complete and was created via a tattoo, quote unquote, of the original. The ink from this was then absorbed onto the plaster.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
That's actually kind of cool. It's
It is
actually
kinda
really
cool.
cool.
Yeah.
Holy
yeah.
crap.
Could we do that? Could we have like a tattoo wrap of our bodies of the Sistine Chapel?
I
Sure.
suppose.
Yeah.
Holy
That'd be cool.
crap.
If you
And it
want.
could be like temporary, you know.
No, this has got to be permanent. If you're going to do it, we
Oh,
got to do it
oh.
permanent.
Oh, geez. Yeah. Okay. I'll think about it.
Okay. All right.
Some
While
talent
I tally up the votes, let's move on to our recommendations for this month. And we will start things off with Tom.
All right. So we talked about this movie a little bit before we started, but my recommendation is go see Paul Thomas Anderson's new movie, One Battle After Another, with Leonardo DiCaprio and Benicio del Toro. Benicio del Toro is having a killer year. Great movies all around. And One Battle After Another is, it's really close to being Paul Thomas Anderson's best movie. It's really hard for me to bump it above There Will Be Blood, but it is exceptional. It's funny. It's dramatic. It's very timely. And it is, yes, it is 2 hours and 40 minutes, but it's one of those, 2.5 hour plus movies that does not feel like it. It's a really great story. And I just absolutely loved it. I'm very excited about it. So you should go see it and get as excited as I am about One Battle After Another.
All right.
I wanna
really
see
do
it.
want to see it.
Yeah.
Looking forward to
But
it.
hey, you gotta see it in the theater.
Yeah.
Man, nobody's got a TV big enough for this movie. It's such a big, wide. It takes place in the Southwest, and it's got to be seen on a big screen. And I know they're showing it in VistaVision and IMAX if you can go see it there. But even our mom and pop theater down the street, it was what a great experience.
All right. Thanks, Tom. Kyle.
Yeah, so I'm going to recommend a movie that on face value is going to seem like it has nothing to do with these movies, but I'm going to explain how it's a perfect allegory. You ready for this? I am recommending the 1980s action movie Bloodsport. The reason I am recommending Bloodsport is because that movie perfectly straddles what these movies are presenting, and that is man's struggle with truth and certainty versus doubt and awesomeness. Frank Dukes, one of the greatest liars of history, who forged all of his credentials and told the story of the Kumite, which was complete bullshit, and he was absolutely full of everything, also gave us one of the greatest movies ever committed to celluloid. So you can be both things at once, like God, Jesus, and the Holy Ghost. You could also be full of shit and inspire a great movie. So thank you, Frank Dukes, for the gift that is Bloodsport we are about to receive. Amen.
Also inspired a bunch of video games. Because you could say that we wouldn't have Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, any of that stuff without that made up bullshit.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, that's a good movie.
Without Black
is a
Belt
good
magazine, we wouldn't have Bloodsport. So
Yep.
Or Soldier of Fortune magazine. So
Gabe.
Well, I don't watch a lot of Pope or Conclave or Catholic religion related movies. So I was having a hard time knowing what to recommend aside these two films. So I thought about another movie where there are a bunch of white men in a room arguing over moral and philosophical and legal questions. And I'm going to see if you guys can guess what it is.
I know what it is.
Do you know what it
Angry
is?
Men?
12 Angry Men.
12 Angry Men, yes, absolutely. Because I felt like it had some similarities to what we saw in, the whole conclave situation where they're battling with each other on, philosophical and ethical and moral issues. And yeah, some people are prejudiced and biased, and some people are, ambitious and some people are just disinterested and want to get out of there. And I thought, oh, well, that sounds like 12 Angry Men to me. And it's a classic from 1957, Sidney Lumet's first motion picture for the big screen. And I think, younger audiences may have trouble with older films, but I think we shouldn't discount them because there's some really great films from, prior eras that address things that I think are still relevant today. I watched it
100%.
again. Yeah, I watched it again, and it's like, well, they're still dealing with the same things in 12 Angry Men that we're dealing with today. Racism and prejudice, and and it just still feels relevant. And I think there's some hard things for modern viewers. Like it's all in black and white, but beautifully shot. There's some really great. It's all shot in basically one room. Essentially, the entire movie is in the jury room. But there's really great like composition of the positions of these characters, and there's some really great close-ups, and there's really great lighting, and I'm not sure like younger audiences can really get into this kind of stuff, but I think you should give it a chance because it's really a great movie. And talk about a great acting ensemble. They had a great ensemble cast for this movie. And so I would definitely recommend watching 12 Angry Men.
All right, Gabe. That's a good recommendation. Andrew.
Since I'm not going to recommend anything that has anything to do with these two movies, probably. Can I recommend one of my shorts? Does that count?
Oh boy.
No, well, I'm that's not my official recommendation, I guess, but we did do a 48-hour called Psalm 1015 that was based around the Catholic Church and the abuse towards younger men, boys, sorry, that we did back in 2006. So I know, weird, huh? Boy, I just brought everything down. Cool. All right. True story, though. We really did do a film about it. So, my recommendation is going to be not anything to do with conclaves or the Catholic Church or anything. It's just kind of a fun, goofy movie that takes a dark turn really fast that surprised me. It goes down a really fast, dark rabbit hole. It stars Josh Gad and Kea Scodelario. I can never say her last name. But it is pretty crazy. It's fun. It is a train ride, and it goes downhill really fast and is just a great popcorn movie. And that is called Adulthood. So pretty funny, crazy. Josh Gad I enjoy him a lot. And yeah, good little what the hell is going on kind of movie. So Adulthood.
All right. Thanks, Andrew. And where can people watch your short film if they want to?
ArizonaInkStudios.com.
All right. And what was the
name? And it's called Psalm 1015.
All right. My recommendation is based on actual true events. I mean, because why not? But it was written by Dan Brown, and it's probably my favorite book of his, although it's not my favorite movie of his, but it deals with the Catholic Church, and that's Angels and Demons, directed by Ron Howard, stars Tom Hanks, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Eilert Zurer. And if you haven't seen it yet, you should check it out. Angels and Demons from 2009.
Hey, that was a book.
It was a book. All right. You guys want to find out who won?
Yeah.
All right. I'll get the smoke ready. Here we
Yeah,
go.
who did we elect?
Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? Your winner by decision is Conclave!
Yeah, that was a very tight race until the end. So Conclave.
What was the final
took it.
score?
9-7.
Oh, been a long time since
Still
we had
is-
a 9
yeah.
to 7.
I was gonna say that's still pretty close though.
That's one vote away from being a tie.
Yep. Yes, it is. We would have been stuck in this conclave for longer.
We would have had to do the whole
Yeah, we'd
episode
have, to do
over
another,
again.
yeah, we'd have to do another one.
33 months,
Oh my
guys.
God,
33 months.
Let's just say it was 5-7. Take my 4 votes out because they don't really matter.
Please leave us a review on whatever podcasting service you use. It helps us reach new listeners. If you like us, tell your friends. If you hate us, tell your enemies. You can contact us at cinesmack@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook, or search Cinesmack. If you want to listen to an unedited version of the show, you can catch us live on Twitch whenever we record an episode. We also now have a YouTube channel where you can watch the recorded Twitch videos. In November, 2 true tales of female war correspondents go shot for shot for a chance at victory. It's Lee versus A Private War. For Gabe, Tom, Andrew, Kyle, and myself, thanks for listening, and go catch a flick.
Go in peace to love and serve Anthony Hopkins.
Judas.
Ah,
This has been a test of the Southsider Studios podcast system. This was only a test. If this were a true lack of entertainment, your head would explode. Go to iTunes and subscribe to our feed. Just search Southsider Studios.